I was at my desk when the certified letter arrived. The title company informed me my apartment had been sold. Confused, I called them. They explained my parents had forged my signature 3 weeks ago, using old power of attorney documents. Before I could process this, my phone rang. Mom and Dad were on speakerphone, laughing. My sister Amber squealed behind them. "Thanks for the wedding present," they shouted. $145,000. Amber's wedding will be perfect. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, hands shaking with rage. I sat frozen at my desk, staring at the certified letter like it was written in a foreign language. The words blurred together. Sold, transferred, finalized. My coworker Sarah touched my shoulder and asked if I was okay. I couldn't answer. I just grabbed my purse and keys and left. The drive to my apartment building felt like moving through water. Everything was slow and distant. I kept replaying that phone call, their laughter, Amber's squeal of delight. Thanks for the wedding present. Like I had wrapped it up with a bow and handed it over willingly. I pulled into my usual parking spot and sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. This was my home. I had bought this modest 2-bedroom condo 5 years ago with money I had saved working 60-hour weeks as a financial analyst. Every payment had come from my own account. Every repair, every upgrade, every decision had been mine alone. When I finally walked to my front door, I saw it. A bright orange eviction notice taped right there for everyone to see, dated 2 weeks earlier. I had been traveling for work and must have missed it when they first posted it. 30 days to vacate. I tore it down and unlocked my door with trembling fingers. Inside, everything looked the same. My furniture, my books, my dishes in the cupboard. But it wasn't mine anymore. Someone else owned these walls now. Someone who had paid my parents $145,000 for a property they had no right to sell. I walked through each room, touching things, trying to make sense of it. My diploma on the wall, the couch I had saved 3 months to buy, the kitchen table where I ate breakfast every morning. All of it would have to be packed up and moved somewhere else. But where? I barely had enough in savings to cover first and last month's rent on a new place, plus a security deposit. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't answer, but I needed to hear them explain this. I needed to understand how the 2 people who raised me could do something so unthinkable. My father answered on the second ring. His voice was different now. No more laughter. Just cold defensiveness. "What do you want, Blythe?" "I want to know how you sold my apartment without my permission." "We had permission. You gave us power of attorney 6 years ago when I had heart surgery. Remember? You signed the papers yourself." I did remember. Dad had been so sick. The doctors said he might not make it through the operation. Mom had been hysterical. I had signed whatever papers they put in front of me because I was terrified of losing him. That was supposed to be temporary. For medical decisions if he was unconscious. Not a blank check to steal my property 6 years later. That was for medical emergencies. Not for you to sell my home. The lawyer said it was still valid. We never revoked it, so it's legal. Amber needed help with her wedding. You're single with no kids. You don't need a 2-bedroom apartment. You can rent somewhere smaller. Family helps family, Blythe. His words hit me like a slap. Family helps family. As if I hadn't been helping them my entire adult life. As if I owed them my home because I wasn't married. My mother's voice came through in the background, loud enough for me to hear. "Stop being selfish. Your sister only gets married once. This is her special day." "When did you sell it?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. 4 months ago. Right after Amber got engaged. We knew the wedding would be expensive. 4 months. They had been planning this for 4 months. While I was working, traveling, living my life, they were plotting to take everything from me. Where did the mail go? The sale documents, the closing papers, everything? A pause. Then Dad said, "We filed a change of address. Everything came to our house. We handled it all, made it easier." They had intercepted my mail. rerouted everything so I wouldn't know until it was too late. This wasn't a mistake or a misunderstanding. This was calculated theft. The sale closed 3 weeks ago, he continued. The money went into our account. Then we paid the wedding vendors. Amber's going to have the wedding of her dreams. You should be happy for her. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. You stole $145,000 from me. We borrowed it. We'll pay you back eventually. Don't be so dramatic. Eventually. That word hung in the air like poison. They had no intention of paying me back. They had stolen my future and called it borrowing. Amber isn't even grateful, Mom chimed in. We told her what a generous gift you gave her. You should have seen her face light up. She thinks you're the best sister in the world. My stomach turned. Amber thought this was a gift. They had lied to her too. I hung up without another word. There was nothing left to say. I looked around my apartment at all the things I would have to pack into boxes. 30 days. That's all I had to find a new place and start over. I sat down on my couch and opened my laptop. I pulled up my bank account and stared at the screen. My savings account showed $20,312, my emergency fund. The money I had been saving for years in case something went wrong. Well, something had gone wrong. But as I stared at that number, I thought about another account. One I had set up 6 years ago and never mentioned to anyone. An account that sent automatic payments every single month to a very specific place. I clicked through to that account and looked at the transaction history. 6 years of payments, $500 every single month. 72 payments in total, $36,000. A small, dangerous smile crossed my face. My parents had taught me to be responsible with money. They had taught me to plan ahead, to save for emergencies, to always have a backup plan. They just never realized I had been planning for their emergency all along. And now, that planning was about to become their worst nightmare. 3 days later, I sat in a lawyer's office downtown. The attorney, a woman named Grace Chen, reviewed my documents with a frown that deepened with every page she turned. This is complicated, she finally said, setting down the papers. Your parents technically had legal authority through the power of attorney. You signed it, and you never formally revoked it. That's the problem. But it was for medical decisions, not to sell my property. Unfortunately, the document you signed was broad. It gave them general power of attorney, not just medical. That means they could make financial decisions on your behalf. And because you were listed as a dependent on their tax returns until you were 25, there's a legal gray area here that makes criminal prosecution very difficult. I felt my chest tighten. So they can just steal my apartment and there's nothing I can do? Grace sighed. You could fight this in civil court. Sue them for the value of the property. Claim they acted without your knowledge or consent. But it would be expensive. Legal fees would run at least $75,000. Maybe more. The case could take 2 to 3 years. And there's no guarantee you'd win. They could claim you verbally agreed to help with the wedding. It becomes a he said, she said situation. $75,000. I didn't have that kind of money. Even if I won, I'd be broke by the time it was over. I left Grace's office and drove straight to a second lawyer. He told me the same thing, almost word for word. Family court judges were reluctant to criminalize parent-child disputes. The power of attorney made everything murky. Fighting it would bankrupt me with no guaranteed outcome. I was trapped. Legally. Financially. Completely trapped. That night, I lay in my motel room. I had packed up my apartment and put everything in storage. The eviction deadline was approaching fast, and I couldn't afford to rent a new place with my credit score tanked and no permanent address. The motel was cheap and depressing, but it was all I could manage. My phone buzzed. I looked down and saw I had been removed from the family group chat, the one where Mom shared recipes and Dad posted bad jokes. Just like that, I was erased. Then my phone rang. FaceTime. Amber. I hesitated before answering. When her face filled my screen, she was in a bridal boutique, surrounded by white dresses and mirrors. She was wearing a gown that probably cost more than my car. Thanks, sis, she gushed, spinning to show me the dress. This one is $12,000. Can you believe it? Mom and Dad told me how generous you were. I always knew you'd come through for me. I stared at her through the screen. She genuinely believed this was a gift. She had no idea what they had done. Amber, they didn't tell you the truth. Her smile faltered. What do you mean? They stole my apartment, sold it without my permission. I didn't give them anything. They took it. Her expression shifted. Not to sympathy or shock, to irritation. Oh, come on, Blythe. Don't be so dramatic. They're our parents. It's not stealing if it's family. Besides, you're successful. You'll bounce back. This is my one special day. Can't you just be happy for me? I felt something crack inside my chest. You think it's okay that they sold my home without asking me? I think you're being selfish. You've always been stingy about money. Everyone knows that. Someone had to step up and help me. Mom and Dad did what family is supposed to do. I'm not being stingy, Amber. I'm being robbed. She rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes at me. You know what? I'm tired of your negativity. Mom said you'd probably act like this. She said you'd try to ruin my wedding because you're jealous that I'm getting married and you're still single. The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Actually, Amber continued, I should tell you the truth. I'm the one who suggested they use your apartment money. You were being so stingy, refusing to contribute anything. I told them to do whatever they had to do. So really, you should be mad at me, not them. But honestly, I don't care. This is my day, my wedding. And you're not even invited anymore, by the way. Mom said you'd probably make a scene and ruin everything. The wedding is in 6 weeks. Don't come. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there in the dark motel room, phone still in my hand, trying to process what I had just heard. Amber had suggested this. My baby sister, the one I used to protect from bullies in school, had looked at my life and decided she deserved a piece of it more than I did. I felt numb, hollow, like someone had reached inside me and scooped out everything that mattered. Then my phone buzzed again. An email notification. I opened it automatically, not really thinking. It was from my credit monitoring service. My credit score had dropped 83 points. My hands started shaking as I logged into the full report. There, in black and white, were 2 credit cards I had never opened, both maxed out. Total balance, $32,000. I clicked through the details. The cards had been opened 3 years ago, in my name, at my parents' address. Every statement had been sent to their house. The payments had been made on time, but only the minimums. The interest had been piling up for years. They had used that power of attorney to open credit cards in my name and had been using them for years. I had never seen the cards, never saw a statement, never knew they existed. I called the credit card company. The representative confirmed everything. The cards were in my name. Legally, I was responsible for the debt. Unless I could prove fraud, which would require filing a police report against my own parents and going through a lengthy investigation. I hung up and put my phone face down on the nightstand. I couldn't look at it anymore. Couldn't handle another revelation about how deeply they had betrayed me. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. The next morning, my phone rang. It was my boss. Blythe, I need to talk to you about something. My stomach dropped before he even said the words. The company is downsizing. We're eliminating several positions, and unfortunately, yours is one of them. You have 2 weeks. I'm so sorry. You've been a great employee. I'll give you an excellent reference. 2 weeks. My job was gone in 2 weeks. I thanked him and hung up. Then I sat on the edge of the motel bed and looked around at the dingy walls, the stained carpet, the flickering light above the bathroom. No home, no family, no job, $32,000 in debt I didn't create, a credit score in ruins, and 6 weeks until my sister's wedding, where they would all celebrate while I lost everything. I should have cried, should have broken down completely, but instead, I felt something else rising up inside me, something cold and calculating. and absolutely done with being the victim. I opened my laptop and started searching for jobs. I updated my resume. I applied to 15 positions before noon. Then I started calling apartment complexes, asking about their credit requirements and application processes. Every single one rejected me. My credit score was too low. My employment was ending. I had no references who weren't connected to my parents. Door after door slammed in my face. By evening, I had burned through half my savings on motel fees and food. My car was making a strange noise that I couldn't afford to have checked. Everything was falling apart. And then my phone rang again. A number I didn't recognize. Is this Blythe Morrison? Yes. This is Detective Williams with the county police. Your parents filed a report claiming you stole $32,000 from them. I need you to come in for questioning. The world tilted sideways. What? They're claiming those credit cards in your name were actually theirs, that you took them without permission, and they've been making payments on your behalf out of kindness. They have documentation showing money transfers from their account to repay your alleged theft. Can you come in tomorrow morning? I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. They had turned this around completely. Now I was the criminal. They were going to have me arrested for their fraud. I'll be there, I whispered. After I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Then I pulled out a worn folder I had been carrying in my bag. Inside were documents I had collected over the years. Mortgage statements, bank records, payment confirmations. I spread them across the bed and looked at them with new eyes. I had been thinking about this all wrong. I had been acting like a victim, trying to prove my innocence, trying to get justice through proper channels. But my parents had taught me something important over the years. They had taught me to plan ahead, to keep records, to always have documentation. They just never realized I had been documenting everything, including things they didn't know about. I pulled out my laptop and started writing. An email, a letter, a very detailed timeline of events that would change everything. You want to play dirty? I whispered to myself, fingers flying across the keyboard. Let's play. 10 days after that first phone call, I was living in a motel that charged by the week and smelled like mildew and broken dreams. I had been job hunting every single day, but the sudden unemployment and destroyed credit score made everything 10 times harder. Every interview ended the same way. They'd call to offer the position, then the background check would come back, and suddenly they'd found a more qualified candidate. My $20,000 in savings was evaporating faster than I could track. Motel fees, food from fast food places because I had no kitchen, gas for job interviews that led nowhere. I was hemorrhaging money with nothing coming in to replace it. The panic attack started on day 7. I'd be sitting in my car in a parking lot, waiting for an interview, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My vision would tunnel. My hands would shake so badly I'd have to grip the steering wheel to make them stop. I had never been in this position before. I had always been responsible, always had a plan, always been financially stable. Now I was one bad week away from sleeping in my car. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Aunt Patricia, my father's older sister. She lived 3 states away and we only talked a few times a year, usually at holidays. Blythe, honey, I just heard the wonderful news. I closed my eyes. What news? About your generous gift to Amber. Your parents told everyone at church about how you sacrificed to give your sister the wedding of her dreams. They're so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. That's what family does. That's real love. My throat tightened. Aunt Patricia, that's not what happened. What do you mean? And so I told her. Everything. The forged power of attorney, the stolen apartment, the intercepted mail, the credit card fraud, the police report they filed against me. Every single detail of how my parents had systematically destroyed my life to fund a wedding. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought she had hung up. Patricia? That's... She cleared her throat. That's a very serious accusation, Blythe. It's not an accusation. It's what happened. I have documentation. Your parents wouldn't do that. I've known them for over 40 years. They're good people. They sold my apartment without telling me. There must be a misunderstanding. Let me talk to your father. I'm sure we can sort this out." She hung up. I sat there feeling a tiny spark of hope. Patricia was reasonable. She was fair. Maybe she could talk sense into them. Maybe this nightmare could end. 2 days later, Patricia called back. Her voice was ice. "I talked to your father. And? He showed me the paperwork. You signed over power of attorney. You gave them legal permission to handle your affairs. He also showed me text messages from 4 months ago, where you agreed to help with the wedding." My blood went cold. "What text messages?" "From your phone number," they say, and I quote, "Whatever Amber needs for the wedding, I'm happy to help. Use my apartment equity if you have to." That's from your number, Blythe. Your own words. I had never sent those messages. Never. But my parents had access to my phone during visits. They could have installed an app, could have sent messages and deleted them, could have fabricated an entire conversation. I never sent those texts. They're from your number with your name attached. Your father showed me screenshots with timestamps. You can't claim they're fake when they came from your own phone. Patricia, they're lying. They forged those messages. I think, she said slowly, deliberately. You're trying to back out of a promise you made, and now you're making your parents look bad to justify it. That's shameful, Blythe. Truly shameful. Don't call me again. She hung up. I stared at my phone. The extended family believed them. Of course they did. My parents had been married for 35 years. They went to church every Sunday. They volunteered at the food bank. Everyone loved them. Who was going to believe me? The unmarried daughter, who was clearly jealous of her sister's wedding. That evening, I was eating a sandwich in my motel room when my door rattled with heavy knocking. I froze. The knocking came again, harder this time. "Police. Open up." My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door. Detective Williams stood there with a younger officer beside him. "Blythe Morrison, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding the theft allegations filed by your parents." "I didn't steal anything." "You can explain that at the station. Let's go." I grabbed my bag and followed them. At the police station, they put me in an interview room. Cold fluorescent lights, gray walls, a metal table bolted to the floor. Detective Williams sat across from me. "Your parents claim you stole $32,000 from them using credit cards you opened in their name. They say they've been making payments on your behalf to protect you. Is this true?" "No. Those cards were opened in my name without my knowledge. My parents used my identity to commit credit card fraud." He slid papers across the table. Bank statements showing transfers from my parents' account to the credit card companies. These show your parents making payments on the cards. If they stole from you, why would they be paying the bills? Because the cards are in my name. They have to make payments, or it destroys my credit. They're covering their tracks. Do you have proof they opened the cards without your permission? The cards were sent to their address, not mine. I never received them, never used them, never saw a statement until 3 days ago. But you signed the credit card applications, correct? No, I didn't. They forged my signature using the power of attorney. He leaned back in his chair. That power of attorney gives them legal authority to act on your behalf. So technically, they didn't forge anything. They used legal authorization you provided. I felt the walls closing in. Miss Morrison, your parents could press charges against you for theft, but they're willing to drop the complaint if you admit this was a misunderstanding and agree to pay them back for the wedding expenses they covered on your behalf. Pay them back? They stole from me. That's your word against theirs. And they have documentation showing they've been supporting you financially. Do you really want to go to trial over this? I sat there in that cold room, understanding with perfect clarity that I had no legal recourse. They had outmaneuvered me completely. The police believed them. The family believed them. The law was on their side. Am I being charged with anything? Not at this time. Your parents are willing to call this a family dispute rather than a criminal matter. I suggest you take the offer. They let me go. I drove back to the motel in my car, which was making worse noises now. Something in the engine was grinding. I didn't have $4,000 to fix it. I didn't have $400 to spare. I parked and sat there, engine still running despite the grinding noise, and felt the last piece of my old life crumble away. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Blythe Morrison? This is Jerry's Auto Repair. Your car came up on our diagnostic system as having critical engine failure. You drove through our lot last week, and our sensors picked up transmission problems. If you don't get it fixed soon, the whole engine could seize up. We're talking $4,000 in repairs minimum. I hung up without responding. $4,000 I didn't have. A job I'd lost. A home that was stolen. A family that hated me. Criminal accusations hanging over my head. I turned off the car and went into my motel room. I sat on the bed and pulled out that worn folder again. The one with all my records, my proof, my documentation of everything. And tucked in the back was something else. Something I had been looking at for weeks but hadn't fully understood until this moment. Bank records showing automatic payments I had set up 6 years ago. $500 a month to a mortgage company. Not my mortgage. My parents' mortgage. For 6 years, I had been secretly paying part of their house payment. $36,000 in total. They had no idea. The payments came from an account they didn't know about, listed as an anonymous source on their mortgage statement. I had been saving them from foreclosure for 6 years without them knowing. And now they were 3 months behind on payments because they had used all their cash for Amber's wedding. I opened my laptop and logged into that account, the one they didn't know existed. And I looked at the payment schedule I had set up all those years ago when Dad was sick and I was afraid they'd lose their house. My finger hovered over the cancel button. One click and they'd be on their own. One click and that $36,000 in help would disappear. One click and they'd face the consequences of their choices without my secret safety net. I clicked cancel. Then I opened my email and started typing. A message to the mortgage company. A formal request to stop all future payments and to investigate the source of recent payments that had been keeping my parents' home from foreclosure. When I hit send, I felt something shift inside me. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one holding all the cards. My parents had taught me to be ruthless when it came to money, to protect my assets, to always have leverage. They just never realized I had leverage on them, and I was about to use every bit of it. Late that night, I received an email from the mortgage company confirming my payment cancellation. They also noted that my parents were now officially 4 months behind on their mortgage instead of 3, because the last few payments had been flagged as suspicious and reversed pending investigation. Foreclosure proceedings would begin in 45 days. 45 days, right around Amber's wedding date. I closed my laptop and finally, for the first time in 2 weeks, I smiled. 2 weeks before Amber's wedding, I sat across from Detective Williams again. This time, I had brought everything. Bank statements, mortgage payment records, credit card documentation, timelines, proof. He looked through it all with a frown. This is compelling evidence that you didn't open those credit cards yourself. So you believe me now? I believe this case is more complicated than your parents suggested. But here's the thing. This is still a family dispute. The power of attorney muddies everything. A prosecutor would have a hard time proving criminal intent beyond a reasonable doubt. My recommendation is to handle this through civil court, not criminal. But they committed fraud. Maybe. Or maybe they made questionable financial decisions using legal authority you granted them. That's for a judge to decide. And it'll cost you a fortune to find out which interpretation wins. I left the police station knowing the criminal charges would be dropped but feeling no satisfaction. The system wasn't built to handle theft when the thieves were your own parents. But I had stopped caring about the system. I had my own plan now. I drove to a coffee shop and opened my laptop. I had been doing research for days, and what I found had changed everything. I logged into my parents' mortgage account. I still had the login credentials from years ago when I had helped them set up online bill pay after Dad's surgery. They had never changed the password. I could see everything. their mortgage balance, their payment history, the foreclosure warning that had been sent 3 days ago. And then I saw something else, something I hadn't known about. I clicked through to their full financial picture, linked through the mortgage company's comprehensive account system. Credit cards, all maxed out. $85,000 in debt, across 7 different cards. I kept digging. Bank statements, 2 months of overdraft fees, bounced checks. Their account balance was negative $412. My father's business. I searched for it online and found news articles from 2 years ago. Morrison Consulting had closed after losing their 3 biggest clients. Dad had been unemployed for 18 months before finding part-time work at a hardware store. My mother's job. I looked up the elementary school where she worked as a lunch monitor, 20 hours a week at $15 an hour, $300 a week before taxes. They were drowning. Completely, absolutely drowning in debt. And I had been throwing them a life raft for 6 years without knowing they were sinking. I sat back and stared at the screen. Everything made sense now. The desperation, the theft, the lies. They weren't evil people. They were terrified people who had made catastrophic choices. But that didn't excuse what they did to me. I clicked through more records. The wedding expenses. I wanted to see where that $145,000 actually went. Venue deposit, $15,000. Catering, $18,000. Dress and alterations, $12,000. Photography, $6,000. Flowers, $4,000. Music and entertainment, $5,000. Invitations and favors, $2,000. Total wedding expenses, $62,000. I stared at that number. 62,000, not 145,000. Where did the other $83,000 go? I dug deeper into their bank records. Transfers, payments, cash withdrawals. $40,000 went to credit card companies, paying down their debt. $28,000 went to their mortgage company, catching up on missed payments plus penalties. $15,000 went somewhere I couldn't identify, just marked as cash withdrawal with no explanation. They had used my apartment money to save themselves from financial ruin. The wedding was just the excuse. Amber didn't even know. She thought she was getting a $145,000 dream wedding. In reality, she was getting a mid-range event while my parents saved their own skins with the leftover money. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey Blythe, this is Madison, your cousin. I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. If you need anything, let me know." Madison. I hadn't talked to her in years. She was Aunt Patricia's daughter, a few years younger than me. We had been close as kids. I texted back. "Thank you. That means a lot. Are you going to the wedding?" I wasn't invited. That's so messed up. I'm going, but only because my mom is making me. Between you and me, I believe you. I know your parents. They've always been weird about money. I stared at that text. An ally. Finally, someone who believed me. "Can you do me a favor?" "Depends what it is. Just tell me what happens at the wedding. I need to know how this ends." "You got it. I'll keep you posted." I put my phone down and went back to my laptop. I had one more thing to do. I logged into the account I had used to make my parents' mortgage payments, the account they didn't know about, and I looked at the payment that was scheduled to process in 3 days. $500. Like clockwork, every month for 6 years. I opened the payment details and selected Stop Recurring Payment. Then I went one step further. I contacted the mortgage company directly and explained that I had been making payments without the homeowner's knowledge, and I needed to reverse any recent pending payments. The representative put me on hold for 15 minutes. When she came back, her voice was apologetic. "Ma'am, we can stop future payments, but we can't reverse the last 3 months because there was a technical error in our system. Those payments show as pending, but never actually processed. They're stuck in limbo. We can redirect them back to your account if you'd like." $1,500 back in my account, and my parents' mortgage showing they were even further behind than they thought. Yes, please redirect them. Done. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Actually, yes. Can you tell me the exact timeline for foreclosure proceedings at this point? She pulled up their account. They're currently 192 days past due. Foreclosure proceedings were initiated 4 days ago. They have 41 days to bring the account current, or the home will go to auction. 41 days. I did the math in my head. That put the foreclosure deadline at 3 days after Amber's wedding. Thank you for your help. I hung up and sat there in the coffee shop, surrounded by people typing on laptops and drinking overpriced lattes. And I felt the last piece of my plan click into place. My parents had taken everything from me. My home, my savings, my peace of mind, my sense of safety in the world. But I had been taking care of them for 6 years without them knowing. I had been the anonymous guardian angel keeping their house from foreclosure. And now, I was stepping back and letting them face reality. They would lose their home. Amber's wedding would happen. And 3 days later, they'd receive foreclosure papers. The whole family would know. Everyone who had been told about my generous gift would see the truth. My parents were broke, desperate, and about to lose everything. Unless they came to me. Unless they begged. Unless they admitted what they had done and offered to make it right. I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing. A letter. A very detailed letter, explaining everything I had discovered, the payments I had made, the foreclosure timeline, the missing $83,000. All of it. I printed 3 copies at the library, put each one in a manila envelope, one for my lawyer, one for me, and one for a very special delivery. 3 days before the wedding, I drove to my parents' house. They weren't home. I knew they wouldn't be. Wednesday afternoon, they volunteered at the church food pantry. They'd be gone for hours. I walked up to the mailbox at the end of their driveway. It was one of those big decorative ones shaped like a birdhouse. Mom had painted it herself years ago. I opened it and placed the envelope inside. On top of the envelope, I attached a sticky note with 3 words. Open immediately. Then I got back in my car and drove away. I didn't knock on their door. Didn't leave a message. Didn't give them any warning about what was inside. The envelope contained a foreclosure notice that I had requested from the mortgage company, showing the accelerated timeline. My letter explaining that I had been paying their mortgage for 6 years. Bank records proving every single payment. A timeline showing exactly when their house would be taken if they didn't pay. And at the bottom, one final sentence. You stole from the daughter who was secretly saving you. Now face the consequences. I drove back to my motel and waited. My phone was off. I didn't want to hear their panic, their excuses, their desperate attempts to explain or manipulate or beg. The wedding was in 72 hours. The bomb was planted, and there was nothing they could do to stop what was coming. That night, I lay in my motel bed and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not happiness, not satisfaction, but control. For the first time since this nightmare started, I was the one making moves. I was the one with power. My parents had taught me to be strategic, to plan ahead, to protect my assets. They just never imagined I'd use those skills against them. The morning of Amber's wedding, I woke up in my motel room and didn't get dressed up. I didn't do my hair. I stayed in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, eating cereal from a disposable bowl, and waited for my phone to light up. Madison had promised to keep me updated. I trusted her to keep her word. At 9 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Just got to the venue. It's chaos. Your parents look like they haven't slept in days. Your mom's eyes are all red and puffy. Your dad keeps making phone calls outside. I typed back. What about Amber? She's in the bridal suite getting ready. Seems fine. I don't think she knows anything yet. I set my phone down and waited. I knew what was coming. I had set everything in motion perfectly. 2 days ago, my parents would have found that envelope. They would have opened it and discovered the foreclosure notice. They would have read my letter and realized I had been saving them for 6 years. They would have calculated the timeline and understood they were going to lose their house right after the wedding. And then they would have panicked. But here's what I had done that they didn't know about yet. Using that fake email account, I had contacted every single wedding vendor 3 days ago. Posing as my parents, I had sent messages asking to confirm the final payment schedule. The venue had responded that $22,000 was still owed, due 1 week after the wedding. The caterer had confirmed $18,000 outstanding, also due 1 week post-wedding. The photographer wanted $5,000. The florist hadn't been paid at all. $12,000 due on delivery day, which was today. Added up, and my parents owed $57,000 to wedding vendors. Money they didn't have. Money they had told Amber was already paid. At 10:30, Madison texted again. The florist just showed up. She's asking for payment before she'll unload the flowers. Your mom is in the bathroom crying. Your dad is on the phone with someone. Sounds like he's asking for a loan. This is getting really bad. I felt a twinge of something. Not quite guilt. Not quite satisfaction. Something in between. What's Amber doing? She has no idea. She's in the bridal suite with her bridesmaids. They're doing makeup and drinking champagne. Someone's keeping her away from the chaos. At 11, Madison sent a photo. My father standing in the parking lot, phone pressed to his ear, face red with anger or stress, or both. In the background, the florist was loading her truck back up, taking the flowers away. Florist left. She said she won't deliver without payment. Your mom tried to write a check, but it bounced. Your dad is calling relatives begging for money. So far, everyone's saying no. I knew everyone would say no. I had made sure of it. When Aunt Patricia had turned against me, I had sent her a detailed email about my parents' finances, about the $83,000 that didn't go to the wedding, about their fraud and manipulation. Patricia had been furious about being lied to. She had called a family meeting without my parents. She had told everyone the real story. Uncle George, Aunt Linda, all the cousins. Everyone now knew that my parents were liars and thieves. Nobody was lending them money. At 11:30, the caterer arrived. Madison texted me updates in real time. Caterer is here. They're setting up, but the manager just pulled your dad aside. I can see them arguing. Your dad is waving his hands around. The manager is shaking his head. What's happening with Amber? Still getting ready. The photographer is here, and taking pictures of her getting into her dress. She looks so happy. She has no idea her wedding is falling apart outside. At noon, Madison called me instead of texting. Blythe, you need to know what's happening. The caterer is packing up. They're leaving. They said they needed $18,000 or they're not serving food. Your dad tried to promise payment after the wedding, but they refused. There's going to be a wedding with no food. I closed my eyes. What about the ceremony? Can that still happen? The venue is paid for the space rental, but they're saying the reception hall access requires full payment. So ceremony, yes. Reception, maybe not. And the photographer just told your mom he's leaving at 4 unless he gets his money. He'll shoot the ceremony but not the reception. And Amber? Someone finally told her. I heard her screaming from here. She's losing it. She's crying and yelling and throwing things. Her bridesmaids are trying to calm her down, but it's bad. I sat there in my motel room, listening to my cousin describe the implosion of my sister's wedding day, and I felt that same complicated emotion. Not happy, not sad, just deeply, profoundly tired. Madison, can you tell me when they come to me for help? When who comes to you? My parents. They're going to call me. Probably soon. Blythe, are you behind this? I'm behind nothing. I'm just the daughter they stole from. Everything happening today is their own doing. Madison was quiet for a moment. I believe you. Call me if you need anything. She hung up. I waited. Stared at my phone. Knew it was coming any second. At 12:15, my phone rang. Mom. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello? Blythe. Her voice was destroyed, hoarse from crying. Blythe, please. Please, I'm begging you. The wedding is falling apart. The vendors are leaving. Amber is having a breakdown. We need help. We need money. Can you please help us? I said nothing. Blythe, are you there? I'm here. We're sorry. Okay? We're so sorry for what we did. Your father is sorry. I'm sorry. We were desperate. We didn't know what else to do. But please, don't let Amber suffer for our mistakes. She doesn't deserve this. Where's Dad? He's in the parking lot trying to find anyone who will lend us money. Nobody will. Everyone knows what we did. Patricia told everyone. We've been blacklisted by the whole family. Good, I thought. Let them feel what I felt. How much do you need right now? I asked. $39,000. That's what we owe for today. The flowers, the caterer, the photographer. If we can pay that, the wedding can happen. Please, Blythe. I know we don't deserve your help. But please, put Amber on the phone. What? Put my sister on the phone. Now. I heard rustling. Footsteps. Mom's voice muffled saying something. Then Amber's voice, thick with tears. Blythe? Hi, Amber. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom and Dad just told me everything. Everything. I didn't know they stole from you. I swear I didn't know. They told me you wanted to help. They lied to me too. Her voice cracked. They lied to all of us. The wedding doesn't cost $145,000. It costs way less. They used your money for their debt. I just found out. I'm so mad at them. I'm so sorry they did this to you. I heard the genuine anguish in her voice. She really didn't know. She had been a pawn in their game, just like me. Do you understand what you said to me on that FaceTime call? I asked. I do. I was awful. I was selfish and cruel, and I'm so ashamed. You're my sister, and I treated you like garbage. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. How much do you need right now to save the wedding? Blythe, you don't have to do this. How much? $39,000. But you've already lost so much. I can't ask you for more. I pulled up my laptop and logged into my bank account. The savings account I had been guarding carefully. I had about $18,000 left after weeks of motel living and job searching. But I had another account. One I hadn't touched. My investment account. The one I had been building for years as my retirement fund. It had $53,000 in it. Taking money out early meant penalties and taxes. It meant destroying years of planning. It meant sacrificing my future for people who had betrayed me. I stared at that account balance and thought about what kind of person I wanted to be. Check your email, I said. What? I opened my investment account and initiated a withdrawal. $41,000, transferred to my checking account with rush processing. Then I opened my banking app and set up a payment. I just sent $41,000 to the venue's account. It should clear within the hour. That covers everything you need today. Amber gasped. Blythe, no, you can't do this. It's done. The wedding will happen. But Amber, there are conditions. Anything. Tell me anything. Put Mom back on the phone. The phone exchanged hands. My mother's voice came back. Blythe, the money is sent. The wedding is saved. But here's what happens now. You and Dad sign a legal document admitting to fraud and theft. You agree to pay me back every single penny. $145,000 from the apartment, $32,000 from the credit cards, plus the $41,000 I just sent. Total, $218,000. You'll pay me $500 a month for the next 36 years. Blythe, we don't have $500 a month. Then you'll figure it out. Sell your house. Downsize. Get second jobs. I don't care. You have 60 days to make the first payment, or I file criminal charges and take back the wedding money, leaving Amber's vendors unpaid and her reputation destroyed. Silence. You'll also apologize to me publicly at the reception. You'll tell everyone the truth about what you did. Every guest will know that you're thieves and that I'm the one who saved this wedding. The guests will hate us. Good. Now you'll know how it feels. I heard my father's voice in the background, arguing with my mother. Then he took the phone. Blythe, this is extortion. No, Dad. This is justice. You have 1 hour to decide. Sign my agreement and save the wedding, or refuse and watch Amber's marriage start with a disaster that everyone will blame you for. Your choice. I hung up. Then I sat in my motel room and waited to see what kind of people my parents really were. My phone buzzed 37 minutes later. An email from my father. Subject line, signed agreement. Attached was a PDF of the legal document I had drafted weeks ago just in case. Both their signatures at the bottom. Digital signatures verified through an online notary service. They had agreed to everything. I forwarded the document to my lawyer. Then I texted Madison. How's the wedding? The caterer came back. The florist came back. The photographer is staying. Everyone's setting up. I don't know what happened, but it's like a miracle. Amber is getting ready again. Your parents look like they've aged 10 years, but the wedding is happening. Thanks for keeping me updated. Are you coming? No, this isn't my day. But tell Amber I wish her happiness. I set my phone down and walked to the motel window. The sun was shining. Outside, people were going about their normal lives. Nobody knew that I had just burned through my retirement fund to save a wedding for a family that destroyed me. But I did it anyway. Not because they deserved it. Because I wanted to prove something to myself. That I could be hurt, betrayed, destroyed, and still choose to be better than the people who wronged me. My parents would pay for what they did. Literally. $500 a month for 36 years. They'd be making payments into their 80s. They'd remember what they did to me every single month for the rest of their lives. But I saved the wedding. Not for them. For Amber. For the sister who was lied to and manipulated just like me. For the girl who didn't deserve to have her marriage start with the memory of everything falling apart. I was done being the victim. I was done letting them control my story. From now on, I was the one with the power, and they would never forget it. I spent Amber's wedding day in my motel room with my phone on, waiting for updates from Madison. I ate takeout from a Chinese restaurant down the street and watched old movies on my laptop, trying not to think about what was happening at that venue an hour away. Madison's texts came throughout the afternoon. 1:30. Ceremony starting. Amber looks beautiful. Your parents are in the front row looking miserable, but they're here. 2. They're married. Everyone's clapping. Amber is crying happy tears. Her husband looks like a good guy. 2:30. Reception starting. Food is good. Everyone's eating and dancing. Your parents are sitting at their table not talking to anyone. 3:15. Something's happening. Your dad just stood up and asked for everyone's attention. People are getting quiet. My phone rang. Madison was calling me. You need to hear this, she whispered. I'm recording it for you. I heard ambient noise, clinking glasses, murmured conversations. Then my father's voice, amplified through a microphone. Can I have everyone's attention, please? I need to say something important. The room quieted. Most of you have heard various stories about how this wedding came together. About generosity, and family, and sacrifice. I need to tell you the truth because my daughter Blythe has earned that much from me. I pressed the phone harder against my ear. 6 months ago, my business failed. My wife and I fell deep into debt. We were facing foreclosure on our home. We were desperate and terrified. And we made the worst decision of our lives. His voice cracked. We stole from our daughter Blythe. We used legal documents she had signed to sell her apartment without her permission. We took $145,000 that she had earned through years of hard work, and we used it to pay our debts and fund this wedding. I heard gasps from the crowd. Madison whispered, "Oh my God, he's actually doing it." We lied to Amber, telling her the money was a gift. We lied to all of you, saying Blythe was being generous. The truth is, we committed fraud against our own daughter. We destroyed her credit. We got her evicted from her home. We ruined her financially because we were cowards who couldn't face our own failures. My mother's voice came through, sobbing in the background. What you don't know is that for the past 6 years, Blythe has been secretly paying part of our mortgage, $500 a month, $36,000 over 6 years, keeping us from losing our house, and we never knew. She was saving us, and we repaid her by stealing everything she had. The room was dead silent. Today's wedding almost didn't happen. The vendors weren't paid. They were leaving. Amber's special day was falling apart because of our lies. And Blythe, the daughter we betrayed, was the one who saved it. She paid $41,000 from her own retirement fund to make sure her sister could have this day. I heard crying from multiple people in the crowd. We have signed a legal agreement to pay Blythe back every penny we stole, plus damages, $218,000. We'll be paying her $500 a month for the next 36 years. We deserve far worse than that. My father's voice broke completely. Blythe, I know you're not here, but I hope someone shows you this recording. I'm sorry. Your mother and I are so deeply sorry. We failed you as parents. We failed you as human beings. You deserved protection and support, and we gave you betrayal. If you never speak to us again, we'll understand. But please know that what you did today, saving this wedding after everything we did to you, showed us what real strength and character look like. You're a better person than we'll ever be. He set the microphone down. The room stayed silent for a long moment. Then I heard Amber's voice. I want to say something too. Rustling sounds. Then Amber's voice through the microphone, thick with emotion. My sister Blythe should be here today. She should be standing next to me in a bridesmaid dress, celebrating with our family. But she's not here because I was cruel to her. When she told me what our parents did, I dismissed her pain. I called her selfish and dramatic. I told her she wasn't invited to my wedding. Amber was crying openly now. I believed the lies our parents told me. I thought Blythe was being stingy when really she was being robbed. I chose a fancy wedding over my sister's well-being. And when everything started falling apart today, when I learned the truth, Blythe still saved me. She paid for this whole day, even though I didn't deserve her help. Her voice steadied slightly. To everyone here, my wedding is beautiful today because of Blythe, not because of me or our parents. She's the reason we're eating this food and celebrating this day. And she did it after we destroyed her life. I don't know if I'll ever deserve her forgiveness, but I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to earn it. The microphone clicked off. I heard applause building in the background. Madison's voice came back as she unmuted her phone. Blythe, are you there? I'm here. That was incredible. Everyone's crying. People are coming up to your parents asking them how they could do that to you. Your dad looks like he wants to disappear. Your mom hasn't stopped crying. What about Amber? She's standing at the front of the room looking at her phone like she wants to call you. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Amber. I answered. Blythe, congratulations on getting married. Thank you for what you did. For all of it. For saving my wedding even though you had every reason to let it burn down. You're welcome. Can I ask you something? Why? Why did you help us after everything we did? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Because I needed to prove something to myself. That being hurt doesn't mean I have to hurt others. That I can be destroyed and still choose kindness. Not for you, or mom, or dad. For me. So I could look at myself in the mirror and know I'm better than what happened to me. Amber was quiet for a long time. You're the best person I know. I'm so sorry it took me this long to see it. Enjoy your wedding day, Amber. You deserve to be happy. I love you. I love you too. I hung up and sat in the silence of my motel room. Madison texted me the video recording of the speeches. I watched them 3 times, seeing my father's shame, my mother's breakdown, Amber's remorse. It felt surreal, like watching actors perform a scene from someone else's life. My phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello? Blythe Morrison? This is Catherine Wells from Meridian Financial. We received your resume last week for the senior analyst position. Are you still interested? I sat up straight. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. We'd like to schedule an interview for Monday morning. Your qualifications are impressive. We think you'd be a great fit for our team. A job interview. A real one. At a company I actually wanted to work for. Monday works perfectly. Thank you so much. After I hung up, I looked around my dingy motel room, at the stained carpet and the flickering bathroom light and the mildew smell that never quite went away. This wasn't my life. This was just a chapter. A really terrible chapter, but it was ending. I opened my laptop and started searching for apartments. My credit was still damaged, but I had documentation now. I had the legal agreement my parents signed, admitting to the fraud. I could use that to explain the black marks on my credit report. I could start rebuilding. That night, I lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened over the past 6 weeks. How I went from having a home and a job and a family to having nothing. How I had been betrayed in the worst possible way by the people who were supposed to protect me. And how I climbed back. Not through revenge, not through destruction, but through strategy and strength, and the choice to be better than them. My parents would pay for what they did. Every month for 36 years they'd remember. Every $500 payment would be a reminder of their betrayal. But I wasn't going to spend those years being angry. I wasn't going to let their mistake define my entire life. I had lost an apartment. I gained something more valuable. I learned exactly who I was when everything was taken from me. And I was still standing. 3 months later, I stood in the living room of my new apartment, hanging pictures on the wall. It was smaller than my old place, a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an older building, but it was mine. I had signed the lease using my new job as proof of income, and the landlord had been understanding about my credit situation when I showed him the legal documents explaining the fraud. My job at Meridian Financial was everything I needed it to be. Better pay than my old position, good people, interesting work. My boss, Catherine, had taken a chance on me despite my complicated recent history, and I was grateful every single day. My phone buzzed. A text from Amber. Can Trevor and I take you to dinner this weekend? Our treat. We want to celebrate your new place. I smiled and typed back. Saturday works. 7? Perfect. Love you. Our relationship was still healing, still cautious. But it was real now, built on honesty instead of lies. Amber had apologized dozens of times. She sent me flowers on my first day at the new job. She checked in regularly to make sure I was okay. She was trying, genuinely trying, to be a better sister. I could respect that. My parents had made their first 3 payments, $500, like clockwork, deposited into my account on the 1st of each month. Each payment came with a short email from my father, brief notes of apology, updates on how they were doing. They had sold their house and moved into a small rental. Dad picked up a second job on weekends. Mom worked extra shifts. They were learning what it meant to face consequences. I hadn't seen them in person, hadn't talked to them on the phone, but I read every email, acknowledged every payment, gave them the dignity of knowing I received their attempts at making things right. Maybe someday I'd be ready for more than that. Maybe not. I was giving myself permission to figure it out slowly. Aunt Patricia had called me 2 weeks ago. A long, tearful apology for not believing me, for taking their side, for adding to my pain when I needed support. I had accepted her apology because holding grudges was exhausting and I was tired of being angry. The extended family knew the whole story now. Some of them reached out. Some didn't. I was okay with both responses. I learned that crisis shows you who people really are, and I made my decisions about relationships accordingly. I had started therapy. Once a week, I sat in Dr. Harrison's office and talked about betrayal and trust and family and boundaries. It was hard work. Some sessions left me emotionally wrung out, but I was learning how to process what happened without letting it poison everything else in my life. I was also dating someone, Marcus. We met at a coffee shop when I spilled my latte all over his laptop. I'd been horrified, offering to pay for repairs, and he just laughed and asked if I wanted to grab another coffee sometime to make up for it. He knew my story. I'd told him everything on our third date, expecting him to run. Instead, he said, "You're incredibly strong. Anyone who survives that and comes out the other side with kindness still intact is someone I want to know better." We took things slow. I was still learning how to trust. But Marcus was patient and kind, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe I could have something good without waiting for it to be taken away. My doorbell rang. I opened it to find a delivery person holding a large box. "Blythe Morrison?" "That's me. Sign here, please." I took the box inside and opened it. Inside was a gift basket, fancy chocolates, a bottle of wine, a beautiful journal, and a card. I opened the card and recognized Amber's handwriting. "For your new beginning, you deserve every good thing that comes your way. Thank you for teaching me what real grace looks like. Love, Amber, and Trevor." I set the card on my kitchen counter and looked around my small apartment, my fresh start, my proof that I could lose everything and still rebuild. People talk about forgiveness like it's a switch you flip, like you wake up one day and decide to let go of all the hurt and suddenly everything is fine. But that's not how it works. Forgiveness is a process. Some days I felt generous and hopeful. Other days I felt angry about what was stolen from me. Both could be true at the same time. I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when things fall apart. Madison showed up. My therapist showed up. My new boss took a chance on me. Marcus chose to stay even after hearing my messy story. That was family too. My parents taught me what not to be. They showed me that desperation can turn people into strangers, that fear makes people cruel, that money can corrupt even parental love. But they also taught me something else, accidentally. They taught me that I'm stronger than I knew, that I can be hurt and still choose kindness, that I can lose everything and still stand back up. I didn't save the wedding for them. I saved it for myself, to prove I could be better than the people who wronged me, to prove that revenge is empty, if it just makes you like them. The real payment isn't the $500 they send every month. The real payment is that they have to live knowing their daughter was more honorable in her worst moment than they were in theirs. I lost an apartment. I gained something more valuable. I learned exactly who I am when everything is taken from me, and I'm still standing. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's building a life so good that what they did to you becomes just a chapter, not the whole story. My parents tried to take everything. Instead, they taught me I never needed them to survive. That's a gift, even if they didn't mean it to be. I'm not waiting for them to pay me back. I've already paid myself back, in self-respect, in strength, in the knowledge that I can lose everything and still win. And that's worth more than any apartment, any wedding, or any family that doesn't deserve me. I walked over to my window and looked out at the city. The sun was setting, painting everything in shades of gold and orange. I had a job interview lined up for a promotion next month. I had a date with Marcus on Friday. I had a new friendship with Amber that felt genuine for the first time in our lives. I had a therapist who was helping me untangle years of complicated family dynamics. I had a life I built from nothing after everything was taken away. That night, I took a photo of myself in my new apartment, holding my keys, smiling genuinely for the first time in months. I posted it on social media with a simple caption: "New chapter, new home, new beginning." Within minutes, comments poured in. Friends I hadn't heard from in years, co-workers from my new job, Madison, Amber, even some extended family members, everyone celebrating this small victory. Because that's what this was. A victory. Not over my parents, over the circumstances that tried to break me. I framed that photo and hung it on my wall, not as a reminder of what I lost, but as proof of what I survived. And whenever I look at it, I remember I'm not the girl who had her life stolen. I'm the woman who built a better one from the ashes. That's my story. That's my truth. That's my victory. So now I want to ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most? How did you find the strength to keep going? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you feel something, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about resilience and survival. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they can overcome anything, because they can. We all can. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community. And remember, no matter what you're going through, you're stronger than you know. Your worst chapter doesn't have to define your whole story. Keep fighting. Keep building. Keep standing. You've got this.